Being a dentist can be totally nacho nuts. My name is Paul Dr. Nacho, founder of Dental Nachos, and someone here to help dentists do three things: increase success, decrease stress, and most of all, reduce the number of times they feel like crying inside a day. That is our goal. And on Talking Nachos, we have amazing sponsors and partners who share their awesomeness with us to those three things. Would you share with us who you are and what you do to help dentists?
Be happy to, Paul. Thanks for having me on. My name is Tom Orent, aka the Gems Guy, and our mission and vision are very similar. For the last 25 years, I've been helping dentists help more of their patients achieve optimal health by getting them to say yes, regardless of their insurance.
Yeah.
I've been helping them to make more money and ultimately just to have more fun and be more fulfilled.
I love that. I mean, we're bonded together in that mission of reframing how dental insurance works, recentering patients' expectations. To use a analogy, contaminated the dentist-patient relationship too often, and it can be decontaminated. It doesn't have to necessarily be totally eliminated, but decontaminated. And I love your messaging with that. I also want to ask you a little more about dentistry is a unique career, right? Dentists can work for 30 or 40 years, make six figures all of those years, but still not really be in the position to feel satisfied financially. Tell us how you help dentists with that.
So I'm glad you brought that up because I was thinking about that this morning. I want to go back a little bit as to why I believe that a lot don't end up financially fulfilled at the end of their, middle and end of their careers. So from their 40s, 50s, 60s, they're looking at what they did and what they've accumulated and how they can take care of their family and maybe even build a legacy for their family. And it's not there. And long before you were born, a doctor named Hugh Doherty, who you may have heard of, he used to be the editor of Dental Economics many, many, many years ago. He wrote some 30 something years ago, and that's not that before you were born. But anyway,
Yeah.
Hugh wrote that 95% of dentists will never be able to retire to the level of the same standard of living as when they were working.
Wow.
And unfortunately, as you know, that hasn't changed. And yeah, there are dentists that do well. And yes, most earn six figures and multiple six figures. But I think one of the things that we start out with is this need to look like a doctor, live like a doctor, have a country club, have beautiful cars, have a second home, and all of the trappings that, doctor, whether it's a physician or a dentist or whatever, but the trappings of a doctor. And I've seen it in many of our colleagues. I did it myself in the early years. Paul, you know that about 28 years ago, I came within 3 days of losing my house and my office.
Wow.
And there were many, many, many different factors. I call that my perfect storm year. My kind of Black Friday was when I was sitting in the office of a bankruptcy attorney, and he looked at my books for about 10 minutes. He said, "Tom, you have no way out." He said, "You got to file." And I was sent to this guy, by the way, by my divorce attorney.
Wow.
So Friday, my divorce attorney sends me to this guy. I go there Friday. Saturday, my divorce attorney calls me back and he says, "You can't file." I said, "You just sent me there yesterday." He says, "I know." He said, "But something has changed." What changed? My wife's attorney said that he threatened us and basically said, you can go bankrupt on Monday." He said, she said, "And if you do, we will meet you in family court on Tuesday and we'll motion the judge to take your home and your office."
Jeez.
And I asked my attorney, I said, "Is that even possible?" He said, "Yeah, in Massachusetts, it's a no-fault state and you have no assets." I had $2 million in debt.
Yes.
So bottom line
I,
is,
I want to interject, Tom, and I
go ahead.
appreciate you sharing your authenticity about all of this. It's so important to understand that not everything is perfect for everybody, and people go through all kinds of ups and downs in life, and it humanizes all of us. Just to kind of add, I think part of the challenge, which I get, is we graduate from college and we go to dental school where we make no money when our friends are out there in business or someone else making some money. And then we literally go hang out with them with our no money when they can go to restaurants and do stuff. And I think when we're done with our 4 years or our 5 years, we feel like we should get some fun back in our lives. And I get it, right? I mean, from 22 to 26, when many of our friends were nurses or business people or HR people, and they could afford apartments, and we were still begging our parents for money or trying to work odd jobs. And I didn't think of it till you said it, but many dentists trap, like you said, of the trappings, and I can see why.
It's interesting you brought that up as well. A good friend of mine, a dentist, general dentist, he retired at age, I sold my practices at age 46. I think he was 44. And he's been living an amazing life. And he's worked on and off since, but mostly just because he was getting a little bit bored of sailing as a 56-foot sailboat.
Yeah.
And right now he's somewhere in the southern hemisphere for the winter. And why do I bring him up? Because he lived so close to the not spending edge. So he was in the opposite spectrum. He made good
Yeah.
money, but he never owned his own physical office. He owned his practice. But when I built this gorgeous Taj Mahal office, which is one of the things that killed me, by the way. Everyone, oh, you got to make it look beautiful, and when patients come in, they'll just know, and it's just a little bit more if you. Anyway, so I did that. That was one of the many straws. That and PPOs, which is why I ended up going 100% fee for service because it was just killing me, and that was back then. I mean, today it's 10 times worse. Anyway, my friend, when he decided not to buy his physical office and just he owned the practice, but what he did was he took and just re-wallpapered and re-carpeted an old medical office, and for real low money, just for super low money, he opened, and he did very well. And then he sold, but he had never spent a lot of money along the way. And unfortunately, I think that's what happens is that we spend way more than we can afford to. We do a lot of it on credit. I can't imagine the stress of those getting out today and we see this all the time with the three, four, five, six, 700,000 between undergrad and grad. So yeah,
So, I mean, this extremism is an issue. You've developed a way, when you think about becoming wealthy or keeping wealth, it's a pretty overwhelming concept, right? Even to me as a 47-year-old. But it sounds like you've created a digestible way for your followers and people to kind of focus on wealth in a beginning, middle, and end training program, which I've actually not really heard of before. Tell us more about that, right? To me, I always
okay.
think you got to spend 6 years and hire someone for 20,000 a year, but it doesn't sound that way for your program. Tell us about this program.
So I've gone through every possible evolution there could be when it comes to coaching, consulting, and sharing gems. In fact, the here's a little bit of trivia and history for you. Um, it was 1986 that I gave the first 1,000 Gems seminar.
Oh,
Uh,
wow, cool.
yeah, it was up in Vermont. Anyway, that goes back quite a ways. But the evolution has been every possible level from just, get this newsletter and subscribe to the newsletter or be a member at some level. And eventually, about 25 years ago now, I started what's called Freedom Summit Coaching. And Freedom Summit Coaching is a very high level coaching. I'm not going to go into all the details of it. It is still running, it is still available, um, but we no longer bring members in at that level directly. And here's why. Um, the cost to dentists of everything they and we are doing today when you're in practice is just overwhelming. The costs are rising, the staff costs are going up crazy, the cost of materials since COVID has just gone nuts, all of that. And so my wife Elizabeth and I, we have a team. We have four coaches. We still have everything in place, and it's all there and running. But recently, we said, let's take the top 10 gems or ideas, strategies that are super simple and easy to digest, as you said, and let's rebuild them from scratch. And so I reshot all the videos, and instead of these 1 hour and 2 hour, and then coach gets on with training and all that, the average video, the system's called the 90-day wealth accelerator.
I get it.
So the 90-day wealth accelerator has 10 modules. And each module, the average video is only 13 minutes. The longest one's like 19 minutes. So can you get on with your team? You can watch a video with your team for about, 15 minutes, 13 minutes, whatever. And then you can deploy it. Um, and without going into all the different strategies that are in the top 10 that make it super simple and easy, what we didn't want, I hate double negatives, but what we didn't want was to have a dentist not be able to access this just because it was expensive and it was going to take a long time. Now, again, somebody still wants to get into our coaching, we can do that, and it's in the multiple five figures as most of them are, and it goes on for quite some time. But the 90-day wealth accelerator gives them basically the same information with a new twist, much faster, easier to digest and to deploy. But just to give you an example, if I may share some of the, I know you said it might be helpful to talk about, what a member did or something like that. I want to give kudos to a few of my members on
Sure.
something. One, the very first module is called the Adult Fluoride Challenge. So, what is the Adult Fluoride Challenge? Well, um, first of all, if you're listening to this and you're a general dentist and you're holistic biologic, I respect that and I understand why you don't have fluoride in your practice. That's fine. That's cool. We've had many members, by the way, who are exactly that.
Yeah.
However, for the 95% or so who believe fluoride is helpful and do use it in their practices, um, the reason, in my opinion, that most dentists don't offer adult fluoride is that if you bang your head against a cement wall for long enough, you realize after a while, if I stop banging it, it'll just feel better. And so
Yeah.
we try and try and try. And we get out of dental school. We know that fluoride is helpful. And I'm not going to get into all the reasons that I believe it's helpful. I've done quite a bit of research on it and I get it every time and I pay for it because I don't have a practice anymore. Um, but let me say this about fluoride. Um, it's not where you're practicing. It's not that your patients don't want it. It's not that your patients are insurance oriented. It's not your demographics, psychographics. It's simply that we haven't been presenting it in a way that helped them appreciate the need and made it a want. So what do they say? They only come up with our normal way of approaching fluoride, which doesn't work. Most patients will ask one question, which is, "Does my insurance cover it?" The answer is no, and we're done. So we get typically, and when I say we, I had 5 hygienists before we sold. We had 2 practices. We got an average of 80% acceptance of adult fluoride paid out of
Wow.
pocket. And so I'm going to give you, as I said, I wanted to share just a little bit of,
I like that. I mean, those are strategies that Dennett. What I like about what you're talking about, a 90-day wealth accelerator has a beginning, middle, and end. I know the investment is traditionally 597 a month, but my grandmother was right, Tom. I am special. So through your Dental Nachos partnership and sponsorship, we'll tell our audience how they can save. But these are actionable strategies, right? Not pie in the sky, in the cloud strategies. You're teaching dentists things that they can take action on tomorrow, and is the goal for them to build the type of wealth they want, whether it's just saving for a 401k or retiring early, or if you kind of, as we wrap up, tell us kind of this goal when they're done with it. You said you want to give kudos to some members, the goal when
yeah.
they're completed.
So some quick kudos, and then the goal for if I were a dentist entering that program, what would I hope to be able to do with these ideas or gems? So, Dr. Valerie Deibler's hygienist Sherry, she got 81% during the 1 week. It's a 1 week challenge. Of course, they can continue to do these things, but in that first week of them actually measuring and reporting, 81% for $585, which is an annualized $30,000 a year.
Awesome.
Dr. Gary Chafee's office, it was Julie, and she got 80% as well, 560 in the week, which was 29,000 annualized. Mark Babbitt has multiple hygienists. They did 1,512 for 76, little over $75,000 annualized. Mercedes Del Valle, 79% acceptance, 25,000 annualized. Christian Rippey had a couple of hygienists, 63,000 annualized on fluoride. Those are just some examples. There are hundreds, literally hundreds over the last 25 years that I've worked with the fluoride verbal skills, which by the way is 7 sentences. So these videos are 10, 11, 12 minutes. It's
I'm a big
seven
fan of
sentences.
those. I always say, Tom, we bond in veneers and there's instructions. Words should have the exact same way, right? So I love that. And, you know, when people can text wealth to 215-543-6454. They can reach out to me if they're watching at dentalnachos.com to get the best deal possible on this. But I love that you're giving these dentists who are overwhelmed with debt all the things they have to do, this beacon. I'll call it a beacon of hope, right? A beacon of hope with this.
Let me,
Their
if I
goal.
could,
Yeah, sure. Ahead.
sorry to interrupt, but you asked me, what's the strategy numbers
Yes.
wise? Well, here's the strategy numbers wise. If they meaning a general dentist and his or her team, take even 2 of the 10 strategies in that 90 days. And by the way, to do 2 of them in the 90 days, given how short and quick and easy all of them are, is a no-brainer. But if they took just 2, it would not be unusual for them to achieve a $50,000 to $100,000 bump on annualized revenue. That's just with 2 of them. One of them, by the way, is a team bonus system that actually works.
I
Most
love that. Post more about that. That should be your
so
next Tom post. Do you want to know a team bonus system that actually works?
So the reason that I call it, that's actually the name of it. It's called the Team Bonus System That Actually Works 2.0. And the reason that it's called that actually works is that every one of us in our practices has had a bonus system at some point or another, or multiple of them. And most of them did work for a little bit. And then eventually they either got forgotten, didn't work, they couldn't achieve it, or were paying out every week and it just became an expectation because they're not really doing anything to make that happen. So if you want to see a dentist, just go really bright red with smoke coming out of their ears. That's when a bonus system has now become an expectation, and now they're paying a lot of money, but there's no change in the practice. There's no improvement anymore. So my wife Elizabeth, she and I do this together. She's my partner. She's a process control engineer with a chemical engineering background. She and I developed this for our practices back then, and we've helped many, many others. So that's one of the 10 in there. But again, an easy goal would be bump 50, maybe bump 100. You could do more. If you do multiple of them and not just two out of the 10, but three or four, you certainly could do that as well. They have access to me in that through office hours, which is where we actually talk once a week as a group. They have 24/7 email to me, and I usually respond within 2 days, usually sooner. Um, what else can I tell you about that?
I love that. You've inspired us to take action. I love this. People can text wealth to 215-543-6454 to get the Nacho deal on the Wealth Accelerator. Reach out to us at dentalnachos.com. Tom, I want to thank you for inspiring me. I followed things you've done for years, well before Nachos, and I really appreciate you supporting us as a sponsor and helping dentists feel less alone out there.
Paul, thank you so much for what you've been doing for our community and for taking me along for the ride with you guys.
Awesome, Tom.